And now for our feature presentation.
He'll be fine on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series.
Watson, touchdown! Hunter Renfrow.
He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
Senegal baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers.
Get the ball to Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
All right, greetings and a good Tuesday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and very proudly presented by Motley Rice and driven by Stokes Volkswagen, also driven by Freeway Flyers USA.com. Listen. Before we go any further, if you need a new tire or tires, a new set of tires, you all know how much of a pain in the rear end it is to go to the tire store or the whatever auto mechanic you go to. Yeah. No offense to any of them, but I know that in the Low Country, and Darren, you know this as well as we all do. Anytime somebody says, "Yeah, we'll get you in here," that means they won't get you out. You're going to get in and you're going to be there a while. Okay, it's a pain. How many of us have that much time to take off of work or to sit there in the afternoon? You could be doing something with your children, or you need to pick them up from school, or whatever it is. So listen, if you go to freewayflyersusa.com, freewayflyersusa.com, they will come to your house. They will come to your business, your work, wherever you are. If you work in a grocery store, if you work in insurance, if you're a lawyer, it doesn't matter what you do. They will come to your business and they will change your tires there. Go to freewayflyersusa.com. They'll come to your house. If you work from home, if you're at home, and whatever, it doesn't matter. Wherever you are, they will come to you. You could set it up in a parking lot if you want to. It's up to you. freewayflyersusa.com. They are the coolest. Allie Kirkman is fantastic, and they just do an amazing job. So head to freewayflyersusa.com if you're here in the Low Country. Make sure you follow us on social media at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB and at Darren Goldwater. And also, of course, make sure you've downloaded our app. It's free. You can watch and listen to us there. You can always comment in the app. And Darren will make sure that your comments are on the air. If you comment in the Share Healthcare chat lines like Ryan and Craig have already done, we'll make sure you're part of the program that way as well. John Reynolds will be a part of the program at 12:30. He's been at the Final Four. Former assistant coach for Frank Martin at South Carolina, hoping to land somewhere soon in the basketball world. We're going to get his thoughts on what happened down in New Orleans last night. Kansas wins the national championship. They were down big, largest comeback ever in championship history to beat the North Carolina Tar Heels, ending their season, an amazing run in the final game that you could possibly play. So plenty to get to on that. Keith Allsep will talk about the Gamecock women and their national championship. He's the dude to discuss that. And we will look ahead for that program. We'll look ahead at the men's program as well. Don Staley with a heck of an endorsement yesterday of Lamont Paris in the national championship celebration in front of Colonial Life Arena. We've got some baseball to get to. We are a couple of days away from Major League Baseball finally getting underway. It will also open, Darren, the same day as the Masters, which according to Tiger Woods about 30 minutes ago, he's going to play. And Tiger was asked, "Can you win?" And he said, "Yep, I can win." Now, with that being said, we're going to get all into it. Tiger will never tell you he can't win. That's Tiger Woods. But he's going to play, and that is going to be something. So we're going to get to that here in just a little bit, but let me get Darren in here first and foremost. And last night, Kansas wins their 4th national championship.
Yeah, and today, all anyone's talking about is Tiger, because not only is he playing, according to him as of right now, like you said, he thinks he can win. When we saw this developing over the last, say, week, right? He goes and plays a practice round, flying up kind of out of the blue. And then that kind of got the buzz going. I didn't really buy it. And then he shows up early on Sunday, I think, is when he actually got to Augusta. And you start seeing him hugging people and walking around and his physical stature. And you start believing it. And then you see him sit down. And by that point today, I think most of us were already in the same spot. Like, we believed he was going to play. And when he sat there and said, "Do I think I can win?" Yeah. And the way in which he said it, it's exactly what you'd expect for Tiger to say. Yeah. But one of the more surprising things on the betting market still, Tiger is plus 120 to make the cut. So I know a lot of people jumped on that about 30 minutes ago.
I was looking at mybookie.ag just a little while ago, and to win the Masters, he's at plus 5,000. So
yeah, 50 to 1.
50 to 1. So a $50 bet, you win $2,500 if Tiger Woods wins the Masters. If you got $50 to roll around, why don't you head to MyBookie? And
I wouldn't recommend that. I don't think he's going to win the Masters, but I do think he'll make the cut. Tiger's not doing this as a publicity stunt, right? I mean, that's what I said yesterday. That's not who he is. Yeah. But do I think he's going to go to Augusta and miss the cut? Of course not. He knows that course better than everybody else that's out there. So
I agree.
Yeah, I think he'll make the cut. Absolutely, I think he'll make the cut.
Yeah, I do too. I think one of the interesting things that we'll watch over the next 24 plus hours is how much more does he do? Because I know that he wants to continue to push it and test it and make sure that he's going to be okay to get through hopefully 72 holes of golf, 4 rounds of golf at Augusta this weekend, Darren. But at some point in time, you want to shut it down because you do have 72 holes of golf coming up. So you don't want to keep going out there and walking 9 holes and walking 9 holes and walking 9 holes. I mean, there comes a stopping point, but he's also in this testing zone right now. Right. So he's trying. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you what he should or shouldn't do. How the hell do I know? Tiger Woods, there is one dude I have learned to never question in sports. I've said it and I've said it and I've said it and I've said it, and it's Tiger Woods. You just don't. Because no one's ever done what he's done. And I was listening to a little bit of the after, by the way, quick note here, and I'll get the rest of the tee times, but the Tiger will tee off at 10:34 on Thursday morning with Louis Oosthuizen and Joaquin Niemann. So 10:34. So he will, when we're on the air, he'll probably be, I don't know, maybe on the 7th or somewhere near there.
So I won't be talking much because that'll be right behind the camera on Thursday. Friday we get the afternoon time, so we'll be okay.
Yeah, he'll be at 10:30, and we are scheduled to have working out the exact logistics. We're scheduled to have both Scott Glaze and Meredith Taylor with us on Thursday and hopefully Friday too. They're wonderful. They're better than me. I know that. So, but yeah, I mean, this is going to be really interesting, and he just continue. I remember to the day. I remember to the second, Darren, last year when the car flipped, and I think I know you texted, my wife texted, and somebody else texted, literally all at the same time. It felt like, did you see what happened to Tiger Woods? And I thought he had died, and then I pulled it up, and I thought, oh my God, he might. And here we are on Augusta.
It was eerily similar, actually. This is going to shock a lot of folks. I found out Tiger was in a crash in an eerily similar way to when I found out about Kobe. I was at Dog and Duck, and that's when I first heard about it. But it was strange. I mean, I'm getting chills just even remembering it, because I remember sitting there looking up and saying, oh my God, Kobe died. And then that word spreading around the bar. And then it was the exact same feeling with Tiger, although obviously he didn't die, but it was Tiger's in a crash. We got early word that it was bad, and then it's kind of wait and see and nonstop coverage. But those two events to me are very similar, except this one has a much different ending. And Tiger, 14 months later, is at Augusta.
This guy couldn't get through a scan in an airport. There's no doubt.
Never again.
I mean, his body is full of metal. I mean, he's. But and I really, the one thing that I've always appreciated about Tiger Woods' press conferences is and Darren, you've been at a lot of PCs, so you get it. When you ask him a question, you get an answer.
Mm-hmm.
He answers it honestly. He doesn't take a long time to ramble around. He says it. He gets to the next question. I mean, he's a pro. He's done this forever. And so I've always appreciated his honesty. A lot of people, you ask them some of those questions, and they're not really dancing around it, but not necessarily wanting to be short, sweet, to the point with the truth either. Like, yeah, I feel pretty good. We'll see how we play. Yeah, I'm concerned with a few things in the game, but we'll just have to work the kinks. They give you kind of these fluff answers. They asked Tiger today, what's your biggest concern? Is it the golf or is it just walking around the course? He said, oh no, my game's fine.
Yeah.
It's just walking around the course. I don't know if I can go up and down the hills. And he mentioned that the only place flat at Augusta are the 18th tee boxes. Outside of that, you're up and down and up and down. And someone asked him something about, making it fairway to fairway. He said, well, if I'm in the fairway, I'll feel fine.
Yeah. Yeah. He's going to be throwing darts around if he's in the fairway, because if it gets soaked, like it's probably going to get soaked, it could be soft. And
True.
And the analysts yesterday were having a field day with this, saying, look, footing could be an issue. However, if the course isn't playing like it is in the practice rounds, and it isn't going to play the way it has played in the practice rounds, it's an advantage to the guy that knows the course. And it's a disadvantage to the guys who have played it a couple of times, but don't know every blade of grass like Tiger does and Fred Couples does and JT and Spieth mostly do by this point. I mean, but it's an advantage for Tiger. So we'll see.
Amazing. This is an amazing story. It will be an amazing comeback. And we're going to talk about this more throughout the week. Yeah, we're going to talk about it more throughout the day and throughout the week. Certainly, Darren, a win to you for Tiger would be.
A win to me for Tiger would be.
Or a successful week. Let's call it a successful week. Completing the tournament. Yeah, because if he doesn't make the cut, but he looks okay, that would be a second best for me. If he misses the cut and doesn't look good, or even worst case scenario is he has to pull out. If he has to pull out, then that's a serious setback to whatever goals he has. He obviously believes he's ready to go, and he feels like he's ready to go. If he has to pull out because of injury, that's a dramatic setback. So I think a successful week for Tiger will be making the cut. I don't think he has to be in contention. Make the cut and do yourself proud. Yeah. I'll give you my prediction. My prediction is that when we wake up on Sunday, there will be talk about Tiger Woods not probably winning it, but he can make some noise today. That type of talk, like not necessarily as in he's within 3 or 4 shots. Mm-hmm. This is my prediction, is that Tiger's 7 or 8 back of the leader, and he can make some noise today. Probably not going to win it, but he can make some noise. That's my prediction for Tiger Woods. I can't discount him, and it's hard to predict him to win the tournament as well. So I'm going to settle somewhere in the middle.
I think that's fair, because if he makes the cut, it's Augusta. I mean, he could be 10 back, and you come to Sunday, and that will be one of the storylines. I mean, he could be 15 back. If he makes the cut, it's Sunday in the Masters, and you know that Tiger has a history of dramatic moments on Sunday at the Masters. So there will at least be, hey, he's not in contention, but, right? I mean, even if he's a mile back. So if he's there on Sunday and that talk is going on, however far he is from the leaders, it's a successful tournament for Tiger. It shows you that he is where he thinks he is in his head, which is a lot farther ahead than pretty much anybody thought he was at this point.
Yeah, I think Tiger wants to play 4 tournaments this year, and they're all majors, just in case anybody was wondering. I think that's what he wants to do. How can I play in 4 majors? Because that's the goal for Tiger now. Mm-hmm. Regardless of what the outside world, people like me, you, or any other doofus on the planet thinks he can or can't do, Tiger thinks he can still break the record. Yep. And so his goal is going to be to play in the majors to give him a chance to break you can't break it if you don't play. So he's going to try to do it. We'll see what happens. He's looked good from what I've heard, and I'm not sure if anybody has seen the galleries following his practice rounds, but that's ridiculous. I mean, that is as big as you see on Sunday. I mean, it has been wild.
It's massive.
So hats off.
Yeah, I retweeted it. Front Office Sports had a good post yesterday on Twitter, LinkedIn. It's all over the place, just showing aerial views of the massive galleries for a Monday practice round.
Crazy.
It's crazy.
It is absolutely crazy. Couple of quick weather-related items to get to here. Thoughts and prayers are with those headed out of Maggie Valley, North Carolina. You all know that place is near and dear to my heart. I was just there last week. Wildfires are up there, over 230 acres claimed in the last 18 hours or so, not far from where my family resides. So keeping our eye on that. There's rain moving into the area. It was started by somebody who was it was a man-made brush fire to get rid of some brush on the property, and it did not stop. So we'll keep our eyes on that. And then here in the state of South Carolina, the Low Country, the Midlands, the inner portions of the Low Country, if you want to call it that, expecting some crazy weather later on this afternoon and into the early evening. So be safe out there. I know I have to, as soon as I get off the air, I got to go get my kids from school. They're going to do an early release day so teachers can get home.
Yep. I had to weigh down the trampoline. I've got 100 pounds of weights actually on the fringes of the trampoline outside.
Well, if the trampoline flies away, Darren, I hate to tell you this, but you probably were in the middle of a tornado.
That thing can fly, man. I mean,
with 100 pounds on it.
Oh, yeah. I'm good with the weight on it now.
If you look out and it's gone, you might want to check the roof.
Yeah, no, that's why I put the weight on it, so that it does not fly away.
Okay, all right. Well, everybody be safe out there, and hopefully this stuff blows through here. We're all good to go, so we can enjoy the rest of the week with baseball and the Masters and so on and so forth. Basketball, though, is where the story has been. Kansas claims their 4th national championship last night with a 72-69 victory. And the end of the game, when they inbounded it and then promptly stepped out of bounds, giving North Carolina 4 seconds to get a 3 off. I thought, oh, my God, you've got to be kidding me. How do you even call an inbound play like that? That you're even going to take it up the sideline. You can't – if you get blocked off, you're going to go out of bounds anyways. The shot didn't go. North Carolina fell. Kansas down 40-25 at halftime. Comes all the way back, Darren, and they win it with their 34th win of the season. It was a good game.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good game. I did not think that game was over at halftime. There wasn't a fiber in my body that believed it, and I was right.
Yeah, so 15-point halftime deficit. They were down 16 at one point in the first half. Loyola, I wrote the date down. Loyola came back from 15 down against Cincinnati in 1963. So largest halftime deficit, largest overall deficit overcome. And I'm with you. So bear with me here. Not only did I not think the game was over at that point, it's the last game of the year, so all of my gambling chats were blowing up, right? We're all having fun with this game. So I believed Kansas would win. So I had Kansas at 2.5 in the first half and the under in the first half. And I had Kansas at 4.5 and the under for the game. So as North Carolina's pulling away, the under was still looking good. The under for the game was still looking good. And at the half, I didn't have the guts to pull the trigger on the money line, which was great value. As the comeback began, I did. So I ended up having a positive night. However, that play you just mentioned, there was a lot going on. The line was 4.5. It's a 3-point lead. If he doesn't step out of bounds, he's probably fouled. And if he hits 2, 4.5 covers. And the under still probably does hit. But because he went out of bounds, number one, they weren't covering. Number two, overtime was fully in play. Had North Carolina hit a 3, and it was a stressful final couple of seconds, but it made it a lot of fun. Overall, a positive night.
I didn't have all that invested in it. I was just watching the game and not thinking for 1 second about the gambling effects of what's about to happen here. I was a little I don't know what's the word, disappointed, disturbed, perturbed. I don't know. In North Carolina's final couple of possessions, they were really careless. They were there was nothing designed or set up to move the ball to get a high percentage shot. Now, I mean, good look, credit to Kansas for playing, good defense, but it was kind of lazy. Not the last possession, the second to last possession of North Carolina, just kind of firing up 30-foot 3-pointers. I didn't understand that. Not sure if that was designed that way, if it was just kind of taking it upon themselves to fire up shots. I don't know, but I did not like those final couple of possessions, Darren. I thought they were, and you didn't even they had enough time. They really didn't need to run down and fire up a 3-pointer with whatever it was, 15 seconds left on the clock. Like, go in the paint, try to get a couple of points. They're not going to foul you. If they do foul you, you got a shot at a 3-point play.
I thought two things were in play there. A, yeah, you're definitely right. B, the two things I think are in play, the fact that that's a microcosm of how the second half was going. So by that point, it had slipped away from North Carolina, and they had been pressing and they had been out of sorts for a while by that point. So it was just more of that slippery slope. And then add in the fact of the Bacot injury. So not only are we sliding the wrong way, now we don't have that guy on the inside, at least to run some stuff through, or at the very least, just clog the lane a little bit. So I thought it was all just kind of adding on top of it all. But having said that, when they got the ball back with 4 seconds, I fully expected that ball to go in. I thought it was going to overtime when they got that ball back, but they put themselves in that position. I don't think they choked. I'm not on that side. I've seen a lot of that. Yeah, Kansas has been the better team all year. Kansas was the better team, and that's why both of us didn't think the game was over at the half. So Kansas came back and took it from them. I don't think it was a choke, but once it got away from them, it slipped, and it was noticeable.
Well, I mean, what happened in the second half is, I'm no basketball expert. We got JR coming up in a little bit, so we'll certainly get his thoughts on it. But the second half was at the pace of Kansas. I mean, that's why that kid was throwing up on the floor. I know he got hit in the stomach, but he was gassed.
They all were.
Yeah. I mean, these dudes were done, and North Carolina is not deep, and they're not deep like Kansas. I mean, they only played 7 players, guys. I think Kansas played 9 or 10 on the night, but Davis played 40 minutes. Bacot played 38 minutes, I think.
And then he only came out when he rolled his ankle.
That's right.
And if you haven't seen it yet, it's online. You can see it. The floor moved. The wood panel on the floor where he stepped and rolled his ankle, it gave way. It slid. It caused the injury to Bacot.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not see that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's you. I mean, that's the only time he came out of the game, like you said. So they had 4 starters. North Carolina did, that played 36 minutes or more. Kansas had a guy play. The Brown kid played 40 minutes. I mean, he played the whole game, and then somebody else I think played 37. But outside of that, everybody else got some rest. I mean, they got some wind here and there. The Martin kid off the bench came in for 20 minutes. So, I mean, they weren't gassed. They were at the end of the game, they were still standing, and North Carolina was. I mean, you could see the sand coming out of the whatever you call that thing for North Carolina, just as the game kept going on. So,
hourglass.
The hourglass. Yeah, I'm not that. I agree. I don't think that they blew it or anything like that. I think Kansas came back and took it from them, and they've been. I mean, haven't they been the best team in college basketball all year? I mean, for the most part.
Yeah,
Gonzaga, maybe. I don't know.
They've been in the conversation. I mean, Gonzaga, Arizona, but when you talk about the landscape of the sport this year, the Big 12 was, for the entire year, head and shoulders the best league. And it was Kansas and Baylor duking it out for the top spot in the Big 12. I mean, that's been the consistent theme all throughout the year. They fit the profile I talked about regularly. an offense and defense top 20 efficiency in the country. They fit that profile. So it shows you that they are a complete team. I thought the depth was a massive factor. That's why I was on Kansas, because of what I said when the Final Four came out. It's like a miracle on ice thing. Hey, that's so much going into it. Just beat Russia. And then, oh my God, I got a game in 2 days. And I thought Kansas had the upper hand on whoever came out of that game. And I had tipped to Carolina because they played great after getting punched in the mouth early too. I mean, it looked like the prophecy was going to play out immediately. And then they buckled down and they played great until they ran out of gas.
Yeah. It was, look, I thought it was a great game. I did. And I really like Hubert Davis. He is really likable. And it had to be maybe a little awkward in the post game when Mark Emmert was handing the trophy to Bill Self. I mean, I don't even know if Bill Self's going to be coaching there next year. You know, you don't know what's coming. But those two, I think, had some words behind closed doors per reports over the last couple of years. And he handed him the trophy, called him the Kansas City Jayhawks. That's okay. They got it correct.
And then the University of Kansas.
Yeah.
I mean, he swung and missed twice.
Yeah. That was tough. So that was probably a little bit awkward there. I actually brushed up on my history last night with the FBI stuff just to remember exactly what the reports were about Bill Self specifically as it pertained to Adidas and their deals and some of the comments that he had made to Gasnola and those guys who have been in trouble. I think there's still a couple of dudes locked up.
2 of them.
So, and Bill Self is not one of them. So I wanted to brush up and make sure that I remembered everything correctly in that whole saga. And yeah, I mean, he's still in the thick of it, but I will say this: this is 2022. This came out in 2017. It's been 5 years. What the hell is going on? Wrap it up. You're guilty or you're not. I mean,
and there's been smoke. I mean, there's been a lot of it, and the report has come out, but it's not like the heat that was on LSU, and it was right around the same time. And by this point, that heat almost got Wade fired, and then finally did get Wade fired. So, if there was going to be significant movement, I would think it probably would have happened by now. But at the end of the day, if you're a Kansas fan, you don't care. You don't care. You just want a national championship. At the end of the day, if this national championship banner can't hang, that's cool. If it comes down, if you're a Kansas fan, I assure you that is the heartbeat of that fan base right now.
Yeah, it won't come down.
No, I don't think
even if it comes down, it won't come down. If that
not in your memory. There will be constant reminders of it. Yeah,
not at Kansas. No, sir. I agree. Today, driven by FreewayFlyersUSA.com. Have them come to your home here in the Low Country and change those tires. You don't have to sit all day at the tire shop. Amazing. I mean, it is amazing. I'm so happy I found these guys, Darren. It's just amazing. A couple quick nuggets, and then we got to get to break. So JR, John Reynolds, can join us next to talk more about the Final Four. Again, the major news of the day in sports is Tiger Woods says he's planning to play, which more than likely means we're going to see him at 10:34 teeing off on Thursday morning with Joaquin Niemann and
who's Oosthuizen?
Louis Oosthuizen. Yeah. Also, another quick announcement from Thursday: Dustin Johnson will tee off at 1:30. He'll play with Billy Horschel and Colin Morikawa. So that'll be a nice group to follow along there. 1:30 on Thursday afternoon as we're starting to wind our program down here. And if you missed the news yesterday from Major League Baseball, former Citadel left-hander, this is a neat story. Yeah. If you would have asked me a few years ago if this kid's going to be in the big leagues, I would have told you no. No offense to J.P. Sears, but I would have told you no. But I would have been way wrong because J.P. Sears is opening on the Yankees Major League roster on Thursday. Aaron Boone informed him yesterday. That's pretty cool.
Pretty cool. I mean, he dominated the SoCon, and I think he was up in AAA last year. But I mean, I agree with you. I mean, he was a stud in college. I didn't know for sure if he would get there. I didn't think he'd get there this fast if he did. But hey, man, not only are you're up with the Yanks. You got a chance.
Yeah. A lot of Palmetto State flavor with the Yankees. Clark Schmidt will be back with the big club at some point in time this year. Former right-hander for the Gamecocks, Brett Gardner.
Gardy retired, didn't he?
Did he actually officially retire? I don't even know.
I think Gardy retired.
I haven't kept up with it. Well, I
think he finally hung it up.
That's what
I'll double check.
Not paying attention for 3 months. All right, when we return, more hoops. John Reynolds. Can't wait to talk to him. He's been in New Orleans at the Final Four. We'll get his thoughts and more next.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right, we take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity finance to new loan, subject to lender approval.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work. And two others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
It's the best time of the year on the sports calendar, and there's no better place to soak it all in than your spring headquarters. Dog and Duck, with 3 area locations in Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. Until May, $5 pints of Wicked Weed Brews and Devil's Backbone, again, until May. Patio seating, happy hour daily, family bingo on Monday, the Duck Truck Double Burger every Wednesday, rib night on Friday. It's the place to be for the best wings in town, the best sports everywhere you look. Dog and Duck, 3 area locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road.
Motley Rice LLC is a law firm with international reach, but it hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for people harmed by products including asbestos and talc exposure, medical drugs and devices, and also catastrophic injuries and auto recalls, including dangerous Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. Visit motleyrice.com. Thank you, Motley Rice, for supporting the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
What's up, everybody? This is South Carolina singer-songwriter Patrick Davis, and I might live in Nashville, Tennessee now, but guess what? I can always keep up with the news back in South Carolina because I've got the JB and Goldwater Show. Thank you, JB and Darren, for being live, loud, and
All right, 12:33 on what is turning into a dreary and soon to be rainy and stormy Tuesday afternoon. Be careful out there as you travel around the area. This gentleman is traveling back to the area, or at least the state of South Carolina, from New Orleans. John Reynolds, former assistant coach at South Carolina, and I think he called himself a free agent on our program a couple of weeks ago, and hopefully that's no more soon. But I know he's been down there hanging out with the Final Four guys. Hey, JR, what's up, brother?
Guys, how you doing? Thanks for having me on again.
Thank you, man. How are you doing? You've been where everybody's wanted to be, at the Final Four.
A little bit road weary. Had a good time down there. I don't know if people know, that the NABC has their coaches convention at the Final Four every year. So I think this was my 12th. Went my senior year of college in Houston, and we missed a couple there, but I think it's 12 now. But always a good time to see people and other guys in the industry, away from the games when you're not competing with each other. And it's been a few years, but it starts out as fun to see everybody. And then by day 2 or day 3, I'm ready to go home. And then, the great company that is American Airlines decided to cancel a lot of flights out of New Orleans. So I ended up on the road. I made the 12-hour drive back on Sunday, but was able to see the game Saturday, and all in all, a really good weekend.
Well, I'll tell you this about American. As much as I've traveled, I freely and openly refer to American Airlines as the devil. They're the worst. Their goal is to consistently make each and every travel experience worse than the previous one. So there's my personal endorsement for American.
Yeah, I don't think either of us are going to win any endorsements there anytime soon, but
No.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, so describe it, JR. Like who have we talked to, Darren? Have we talked to somebody else that was just down there?
We talked to Ed, and he said something very similar.
Right.
Ed Conroy, and
Yeah.
I asked him directly. I said, "So is it fun or is it stressful?" And he pretty much said exactly, John, what you said. Like it starts out, hey, great. There's a bunch of people I haven't seen, and by the end of it, there's a lot of people everywhere, and you're kind of ready to go.
Yeah, like what do you do down there? Like what does a day look like?
Well, it depends who you are. It depends who you are. I mean, for him, for a guy that's like think about, he was at Tulane for 7 years, so he's going back to New Orleans, and he's got all kinds of friends that haven't seen him in forever, and just took a head coaching job, and those guys are always popular to talk to. Everybody's wanting to get a resume or has a guy that you should hire. I'm just a nobody, so I'm just wandering around and kind of enjoying it, honestly. But everyone has their different approach. You got the guys that are going down there to network all weekend, and they're all buttoned up with their school polo, and they're handing out business cards in the lobby. And then you got the guys who just want to take a free weekend away and get on Bourbon Street and get after it a little bit. So it's an interesting mix for sure. But New Orleans, I will say this: like New Orleans is one of the best because everything's so close. You got the convention center, you got all the hotels there downtown. You can walk to the Superdome. So it's at the top of my Final Four venue rankings for sure.
Well, I haven't actually been to New Orleans before, but I'm planning to go at some point in time in the fairly near future. So I might need to hit you up on some travel tips there. And I need some good beignets, but that's for another day. All right. Hey, look, describe what you saw Saturday night at the Superdome with, Kansas won the national championship last night, JR. Nobody even talked about them playing in the Final Four against Villanova. Everybody was interested in Duke in North Carolina. Describe the scene there.
It's incredible. And if you've never been, I think Saturday, the Final Four is the coolest sports event that there is. I mean, you really can't describe it. And especially with the teams that we're in, it's always a big deal, but think about the 4 programs and the 4 fan bases, and they're all coming down there at once. Like tip off of that first game is always, it's just something that sticks in your mind. I still remember, the first time I walked into a 70,000 seat stadium and saw it packed out, and the people are going crazy. And, by the time you get to that second game, somebody's lost. So there's at least a quarter of the building's kind of checked out. Although I will say this was about the only time I remember, I don't think anybody left because nobody was leaving for that Duke North Carolina game.
Yeah.
Second, it was still buzzing the whole time. But, and that Duke Carolina game got all the attention. But I'll say this too, like outside of Kentucky, I don't think there's a fan base that travels more or better than Kansas. I mean, there's Kansas fans just all over the place. I mean, they took over. And then you had the games. Kansas kind of took care of business. I think people kind of knew they would be the better team, but I wouldn't bet against Jay Wright and that program at any point. But they kind of did what they were supposed to do, and then the nightcap there was just a classic, man. It was everything that you thought it might be, and but I think the neat thing about this Final Four and being there, and seeing those teams in person, I don't think there's any doubt. Like, the better teams won Saturday night, and the better team won last night. It's one of the things that makes college basketball so great. Like, you're not going to luck into a championship. It's you're going to be the better team if you can go win 6 games against that entire field. And I think we got a pretty clear answer that Kansas is the best team in the country.
So tell me this. You've been a head coach at PC before, and down the line you're going to be a head coach again. And we had teams with different styles in the Final Four. Your ideal team as head coach John Reynolds, are you playing Kansas tempo? You playing Villanova tempo and jacking up threes? Or you playing more in the Duke, North Carolina style?
Yeah, I'll say, like, to give you coach speak, it's always going to be based on your personnel. But one of the things I thought was awesome was this day and age, everyone wants to talk about, the one and done freshmen and the portal, and like small ball's the way to go. And then last night you have 2, 3, and 4 year big guys that are on the block just going at it like every possession, and everybody wants to say, I know my guy Frank Martin was up in Massachusetts just grinning ear to ear and pumping his fist because he's all about post play and scoring at the rim. And like, at the end of the day, that's what it's always going to be. And I thought it was really cool to see those guys. And I didn't hear this brought up on the broadcast. Maybe they did. I don't know how many people know this, but David McCormick and Armando Bacot were actually AAU teammates. Back in the day for Team Loaded. Like, can you imagine? So it was like a Team Loaded AAU practice was breaking out with those guys. And the guard play is really good on both sides. I've always loved the way that Kansas plays. They're so balanced. They space you. They've always got guards who can make plays off the bounce. They always have a 6'5", 6'6" wing like Obaji, this year that can shoot the ball. And then whether it's Joel Embiid or McCormick or going down the line, they're always going to have a big, and they're always going to be able to play through him on the block. I just thought it was telling, with the way everyone wants to tell you college basketball is going this year. You got 2 teams full of veteran guys. You got some transfers in there, but I thought it was a really well played game. It was really balanced. They weren't jacking up, quick shots, and it was good offense. They played inside out. They made shots. They made plays in transition. I just thought it was a good, well played, balanced game.
John Reynolds, free agent. I keep wanting to say assistant basketball coach in South Carolina.
I got it on the graphic right there. Free agent basketball coach.
Yeah. free agent basketball. Go ahead.
I got to take advantage of it, man. There's no rules right now. I'm like
That's
that.
right.
I'm like that Little Caesars commercial where the guy takes his shirt off and runs around. There's no rules, so I'm gonna enjoy the little while. I don't have to get out the old 500-page NCAA rule book about where I can be at this time of day or who I can talk to. So I'm gonna enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah, what you can say while you're doing that. So you just went through the SEC season with the Gamecocks and with Frank. And there's many, JR, in the basketball world that looked at the league top to bottom this year and said, this is the best that it's ever been. I know that Georgia had a really, really tough go of it. But outside of that, everybody else could compete. You could lose any night in the SEC, it seemed like. And the 4 at the top were certainly the best 4 teams in the league. But you saw those guys, throughout the year. Would y'all have 19 or 20 games against SEC opponents? And now you just watch the Final Four, and I don't know of anybody that thought that Duke and North Carolina would be there. I think many were predicting Kansas would. Many thought that Villanova might make a run, but there weren't a lot of Duke's, North Carolinas on ballots. It felt like a down year for the league and for those two that headline the ACC. But now that you saw all 4 teams play and you went through the whole SEC season, how do you compare what you saw to what you went through?
Yeah, I mean, it's, sometimes you have to separate it. The tournament so many times comes down to matchups and then at how you're playing at that time of year. And
Right.
I don't think there's any doubt, like hats off to Hubert Davis. I watched them play in January and they were no good. They were just struggling. And, what he did to get them playing like unbelievable basketball for the last month or so, he deserves all the credit. But I don't think people are going to talk numbers and how many did you get in the Final Four and Sweet 16. And, I don't think anybody had South Carolina picked to go to the Final Four in 2017. But
I did.
I also don't think if you're basing off what you saw on the court during that run, like there was no doubt that they deserved to be there and they belonged. Like it wasn't a fluke. They were just playing basketball at a top 4 level in the country at that time in the year.
Okay.
And I think a lot of it with the portal and with freshmen, teams are on different timelines of when they're going to gel and when it's going to click for them. And it can go the other way sometimes. Sometimes the season, my former boss Frank Martin always said that the season teaches you how to win or how to lose. And it's about taking all those lessons from the season and combining them at the right time and hopefully all being on the same page and ready to play your best ball. But on the other side of the coin is sometimes that adversity or things you go through or people aren't happy with minutes or it's just not fitting right. Sometimes people can kind of end the year in a tailspin. And I don't think it takes away from how good the SEC was during the year. That point still stands. I mean, I think it was proven with the numbers and the non-conference records and the teams ranked in the higher and whatever metrics. It was a really good year. But there's other really good programs and other really good leagues out there, and just all about what you're doing in March. And like I said, it was cool to see. I thought the better teams won, and I thought there were 4 really deserving teams there that were probably the 4 best teams in the country as we stand here in April.
What do you think the future of Duke and North Carolina is, JR? I mean, you're a basketball guy, and we've all grown up with the Duke and North Carolina as 2 of the all-time great programs. I'm not sure. I'm not implying that is going to change, but there's a change in leadership for the first time in what seems like forever, definitely forever for Coach K. I guess 20 years or so at North Carolina, with Hubert Davis going into his second year, then John Shire entering his first year as the head coach up there. What do you think the future of that rivalry is, and what does it mean to the sport?
Yeah, I don't see it changing much. I mean, those programs are both so entrenched, with their history and who they are and the type of players that they're going to attract. And they both did the right thing by keeping it in the family and hiring guys that understand what that place is like, because it's different. You're always going to be in a microscope. You're always going to be dealing with a fan base, a different caliber player. I mean, everything is just at the elite level. And, I don't know either one of those guys, Coach Shire or Coach Davis. I don't know them personally, but, if you look at the recruiting and, I think Duke's put together another top 3 class, and, what Coach Davis was able to do with this team coming down the stretch, I don't think there's any doubting his coaching acumen at this point. I mean, again, their turnaround was incredible. I just don't. It's hard to see those guys going anywhere. It really is. I mean, kids still dream of playing at those places, and Coach K had an unbelievable career, probably the greatest coach of all time. But Duke is still going to be Duke, and I think North Carolina kind of proved that this year. And certainly I know we've gone against them in the past year, in recruiting when at South Carolina. And I don't think there's any doubt the pool is still there. So really hard to see much of a drop off.
You kind of led me right into it. I was going to ask you that. What is it like to recruit against Duke and North Carolina?
Well, you better hope you have a different type of kid that you're dealing with, because we all think and we all sell our programs and what the opportunity is like to play at a certain place, but in the back of your mind, you always know, like, it'd be pretty cool to play there. You can't deny any of that stuff. Just the tradition and knowing all the great players that came before. But every kid's different. Some want to blaze their own path. Some want to stay closer to home. What makes it difficult at a place like South Carolina is you can go to one of those places and still be close to home. So that's just another challenge of those jobs. But no, it's hard. I mean, you can't compete with the history and the tradition. Your best bet is to try to convince really talented young men that, hey, we can do it here, and why not be the first, or why not be one of the ones to help us get it rolling. But they're a machine for a reason. They're tough.
I know we got to get you out of here in just a couple of minutes. We'll wait to see what is next in your future, and we're certainly anxious to find out. I do want to ask you about the future of Frank, now the head coach up at UMass. I know that that you are close with him, have a lot of respect for him. We know he has a lot of respect for you. He's told us that. I saw that Brian Steele is joining him up there. It looks like Wildens Levesque is going to transfer to UMass as well, so some Garnet and Black flavor will be entering the Minutemen program. But as you look at the future of that program under the new leadership of a guy that you know very well in Frank, and now Brian going up there continuing to grow his professional career, what do you expect? What are you excited about watching as this continues?
Yeah, I'm first off, just thrilled for Frank. I know when this was first getting discussed, and he told me that they had reached out and he was kind of thinking about some things. I don't even think he had really talked to their administration yet. But you got to go back 25 years or so. But, in my mind, we're all kind of products of the era that we grew up in, right? Like, our perceptions are shaped by how things were when we were kids and when we started paying attention. And for me, growing up in the 90s, like, UMass was a blue blood to me, They were Duke, they were UCLA, Arkansas was really good at the time. I mean, going down the line, but all I remember of UMass is Marcus Camby and the Padilla brothers and Lou Rowe, and like they're playing, they're playing Providence and a game on Tuesday night, and the place in Amherst is going crazy and it's packed and it's dark in there, and they've got this 6'11" guys dunking balls all over the place. Like, there's real tradition there, and they've done some major things before. But most of all for Frank, like, being at a basketball school, a place that's really going to do everything that they can to give him everything that he needs, and seeing how excited they are to have him up there. It's a place where he's got some roots. Both he and his wife have family in the New York area. His wife is an alum and one of their all-time great. I think she has, a bunch of track and field records at UMass. Mm-hmm. The first thing was just like, man, that's a great spot for him. And, even at South Carolina, we always recruited the Northeast heavily because of, Frank's time at Northeastern. And there's a lot of love up there, and there always has been for Frank. And, I think he's going to crush it. I think he's absolutely going to crush it. Like, it would not surprise me at all. And I don't want to put, expectations on him, but if you told me he has them in a Sweet 16 in the next 4 years, like, I would not be shocked. Wow. I think he's going to kill it in recruiting because they absolutely love him there. He's got a Final Four under his belt. I don't know how many other guys in the A-10 can say that. And like I said, man, it's a basketball job. Like, it's just one of those, in my eyes, like, they've done it before, and they've shown that they can have elite level support for a men's basketball program. And I think they showed they got it by really swinging for the fences and going out and coming out aggressively after Frank and getting that done. So I'm just thrilled for him. I think it's an unbelievable fit, and I'd really expect him to be very successful sooner than later.
Well, by the way, if you're on Instagram, Frank just joined Instagram a day or two ago. So
did he really?
He did. I mean, he's all about social media right now.
That's funny. I gotta say, I worked with him for 5 years. There's no way that he did all that on his own. They got a really good. They've got a great marketing guy up there that's got him set up. I know this. They've been pushing him like crazy on Twitter.
Yep, they have.
Up. So they got somebody up there that knows what they're doing. That's getting them out. But I'm gonna call. I'm gonna call his bluff on that. I don't know if he got that all of it on.
That's funny. Well, we'll monitor that. I'm not a big Instagram guy, but I'll have to check it out. And we will be monitoring you, JR. We hope you land on your feet very, very soon. And glad you had a blast at the Final Four. And as always, we really appreciate your time here. Good stuff, man.
Well, thank you guys for having me on, and anytime. For now, I'm gonna soak up the free agent thing, but we'll have a resolution here soon, and people can stop talking to me like my dog died or something. We're gonna be good. Things are moving in a good direction here, but anytime, man. Happy to talk hoops or anything with you guys.
Good stuff.
Great.
We'll catch up.
Thank you. There you go.
Thanks.
John Reynolds, free agent is what he's calling himself, so we'll call himself that one. The UMass job is interesting for Frank because it's a very similar feel to when he took over at South Carolina. Kind of similar results. Like we need somebody who can get this thing turned around. We've had a spurt in our history that we all remember, and we feel like we can do it again. Carolina's was longer ago. With Frank McGuire, clearly, but UMass, what he was referencing is the run that they made under John Calipari when that finished in the Final Four. They actually got beat by Kentucky that year. I think it was the spring of '96, but they went 35-2 or 3. And since then, Darren, actually after Calipari, you remember he left, and then they hired what I feel like is one of the great names ever, Bruiser Flint, to be their head coach. And they went to the dance the next couple of years, and they got knocked out in the first round. Harris pulled it up. They've only been to one since, and that was in 2013, 2014.
Yeah, it's been a little bit dormant up there, but the first
they love their
time,
basketball.
They do. And the first time I heard maybe Frank and UMass, I think it was on the show the first time I heard it, and my reaction was the same as when Xavier opened. I was like, oh, Sean Miller. The first time I heard Frank and UMass maybe linked, my instant reaction was, oh, that's great. That's a home run, A, hire, and B, fit for Frank Martin. And I'm not putting words in John Reynolds' mouth. He said what he said. There were a couple of things he was describing in the UMass program that I think was multifaceted in what he was saying, in how much they love their basketball and how they're going to give him everything he wants and everything he needs, and the success that he expects and the resume that Frank Martin holds. So I think there's a lot that was in that comment, and I think that that a lot of what Frank has said, not long after the firing, kind of echoes what JR was saying there. So I'm interested to see what Frank Martin can put together at UMass, because they do love their basketball. They've been longing for a team that they can kind of wrap their arms around again, and they're in a good league, a great league that isn't as high as it has been. So it's an opportunity to strike now as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I see Craig's comment here. We got to get a break, but he said he's surprised that he wants Levesque. I'm not. Frank. The Levesque-Frank relationship. I'm not sure if that's exactly what Craig's referring to here. That was blown way out of proportion. He coaches him hard. He coaches everybody hard. He did that to Thornwell. He did that to Silva. It's I'm not surprised by that. As pertaining to the player that Wildens Levesque is, I think he'll do well at UMass. No disrespect at all to the A10. I like the league, but he won't see the guys that he's been seeing in the SEC. At least initially, he won't.
Yeah, not night in and night out. No.
Yeah. So right. So I actually think it's a good spot for Wildens Levesque. I think he's from up around there too, maybe New Jersey or something. Maybe that helps him being a little closer to home. So I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked by it. I wouldn't be shocked to see another player end up there with Frank either. We'll see what happens.
Was it Woodley who announced that he's going there? I know Stevenson is going to Bob Huggins, who's tight with Frank, so he's going to West Virginia. Was it Woodley who already announced it? I'll double check it. By the way, speaking of this, as I double check it, you know who just got an offer from UMass to go play up there?
GGI. Yeah, that's right. GG Jackson.
Yes.
Yeah, that's crazy. So I might have had that wrong.
There you go. All right. So I think Allsep's saying what I was saying, that it's Woodley who.
Yeah, Woodley. But that's what it is. Woodley, and the word is that Wildens has an offer, or they're saying it's interest. But I had heard that there was something going on there with Wildens Levesque possibly transferring to UMass as well. But I stated that wrong. Woodley is the one he's the one. Woodley had a nice year for being a freshman. So thank you, Keith. We appreciate that. That's why you're going to be here. All right. It is 1 o'clock. An hour is in the books. Keith, as a matter of fact, is up ahead in about 20 minutes or so. So we're certainly looking forward to getting to him. We've got some baseball to tap into as well, and some Gamecock stuff to add. So it's a jam-packed final hour. Hang tight. The JB and Goldwater Show. We'll be right back. Right here in our backyard is Motley Rice LLC, a law firm that hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for South Carolinians who were injured while traveling by plane or bus, harmed by medical drugs and devices, or burdened by dangerous auto recalls, including Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. We are honored to have Motley Rice as a sponsor for the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work, and to others you probably don't think much about. Stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Lowcountry. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Clamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the National Anthem.
Live, loud, and online.
All right, final hour, Tuesday afternoon. We're expecting some rough weather later, so everybody make sure that you are safe and sound wherever you are. I'm gonna have to get off the air and go get my kids. They have told us come get them, so that's what we're gonna have to do. Follow us on social media at JB and Goldwater individually at Sports Media JB and at Darren Goldwater. Download the app. The Vintage brand is on there as well. Maybe you're a Kansas fan, maybe you're a North Carolina fan, or a Duke fan, or a South Carolina fan, or any fan of anybody. Vintage brand is awesome. If you've downloaded our app, you'll see the link. Click on it. Buy what you want. It's cool. Logos you haven't seen in decades from your favorite school or from your favorite pro program, like the Atlanta Braves, who will be wearing gold this year because they won the World Series last year. Gold outlining the letters on their uniform. This can be pretty neat.
Yeah.
By the way, we will speak with Corey McCartney on Thursday.
Nice.
In anticipation of opening day in Major League Baseball, and of course for the Braves. And those of you that really enjoy Corey, as long as it's okay with Darren, we can bring him back every Thursday, because he said, I'll do it for as long as you want me to do it. So why not? He's the best. We'll have Corey McCartney starting Thursday for Thursday.
And if you don't know, because I didn't know until I had to figure it out, the website he writes for, all about the Braves, has been rebranded. It is now Battery Power. So no more talk and chop. It is now Battery Power. Same guys, content, everything, just revamped, kind of remarketed a little bit, and Battery Power to, I don't know, I guess pull in the feel of the battery right around there. But that's what it is now.
Yeah, it's good, and Corey is so good. So really looking forward to Thursday, because we get him, we get Scotty and Meredith with golf. I mean, this is going to be a blast. So looking forward to that. I do want to plug this in, Darren, because it is important pertaining to athletics at South Carolina. This has just kind of popped out of the Post and Courier, and Sienna Adcox wrote the story, and we will I'll probably try to squeeze some of this in with Keith, but we'll definitely talk to JC about some of it tomorrow, and we'll follow it in the future. But the headline in the Post and Courier now is the legislators fast-tracking bill to revamp South Carolina's board following years of controversy. Anybody that has been keeping an eye on this is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a big deal for a couple of reasons. One, they're in charge of the University of South Carolina. It is the flagship institution. That is no disrespect to anybody else out there in the Palmetto State, but they are the flagship school, and this entire state, much of its production in every way, shape, or form that you could dream of, comes because of South Carolina and the money that it dumps back into it. Now, athletically speaking, there have been some bumps in the road, as we all know. They were grilled. I think it was last week is when I watched it in front of the General Assembly. And so there's a bill that has been introduced by House Speaker Jay Lucas, who actually has 3 degrees from South Carolina. And that bill is fast-tracking to fire everyone on the board. Literally everybody. And now that doesn't mean that everybody on the board would not return. And if the bill gets through and it gets passed and approved, gets to the governor's desk and gets approved, the governor has a lot of pull in the board right now because he's a member when he chooses to be, basically. But if it gets through and it does get approved, that does not mean that if you're a board member, you can never be a board member again. You just have to reapply. And then you're going to have to get voted on. And essentially what it would do is drop this 20-member board plus 1, which would be the governor's role in this, down to 13 with voting authority. And at the request, I'm gonna read this here. Quote, at the request of House Ways and Means Chairman Merle Smith, a co-sponsor, the bill was put directly on the calendar for floor debate. No one objected to it skipping the committee process. So that tells you that this is of ample importance to state leaders in Columbia, South Carolina. I'm not going to read the whole article here, but we will talk more about it throughout the week. Legislative elections for 8 South Carolina seats are supposed to occur right now, Darren, on May the 4th, and those terms would begin on July the 1st, and they would continue through June of 2026. This bill doesn't address those elections, but if the bill is passed, then it won't matter what happens in those elections. So they will have to restructure and revote on the board at South Carolina. So I also think that there is look. I'm not going to get into a bunch of legalese because I don't know it all, but I do think this, and you and I have talked a lot off the air. You know a lot of people as well, and behind the curtain. And this is not an excuse. I'm not using our platform to make excuses for anybody, but behind the curtain, leadership at South Carolina and the athletics department specifically has battled the board of trustees for quite some time, and that does include Coach Tanner. And now that's not an excuse as to any decision that Coach Tanner maybe has made or hasn't made or anything of that nature. I'm not saying that.
It's a fact. And a lot of it's been out in front of the curtain too. I think it's well-known knowledge at this point that the board's a problem. Yeah. So it's a good thing they're trying to, if it works or not, at least address the problem, fix the problem, work on the problem.
Yeah, I think you're right. And more of this is starting to surface as to what the athletics director at South Carolina has had to deal with for quite some time. Okay. It doesn't necessarily discount or excuse any decisions that have been made or haven't made, but it will help you understand why maybe some things happen in the process that they go through for some of these decisions to be made. If you don't support a hire or something like that, that may be fine. But as you and I have discussed multiple times here, had they just come out and done this, or just come out and done that, just going right to it from point A to point B and be done and authoritative with your decision, there would be a lot less controversy and discussion, because the process is generally what has been criticized at South Carolina, that a lot of the laundry has been aired out publicly, and we catch wind of kind of what's going on, and it's never the full story, but you get some of it, and then everything just looks like a total debacle and a total mess. And there are still plenty of people, I've seen it. I'm not going to. I've made my pledge to not to respond to social media warriors, but there's still plenty of people who can't, for whatever reason, pull their head out of their rear end, and all they want to do is blame Ray Tanner for everything that's ever happened. If they're late on a bill, it's probably Coach Tanner's fault. If their grass isn't cut, that's Coach Tanner's fault. They just have it. They now have an agenda because they've read a bunch of stuff on social media for 3, 4, 5 years, Darren, and that's just what it's going to be for them. They will take no other answers. Ray Tanner's a failure, whatever. But what I personally hope happens, and this is not to justify anything that Coach Tanner's done, I just hope people will see the full story if it comes out over the next year or so as this bill makes its way through the House, through the Senate, and to the governor's desk. I think that people need to understand what type of job Eric Hyman had, what type of job Coach Tanner has had. That's not to say all these board members are bad. It's not to say they're all bad people. It's just been rather dysfunctional. And maybe now is time for a change, and we'll see what that looks like. But maybe this will help bring some clarity to why some of what has happened has happened.
Yeah, I think a lot of that by this point, people should understand by this point how much of a problem and a roadblock and speed bumps would be underselling it. The board of trustees has become. Having said that, at the end of the day, Ray Tanner is the athletic director, and these are the decisions that he made, and he does have to answer to them and does need to be held accountable for them. So if things get easier, then that's good. That's good for him. That's good for all future athletic directors. If things get easier, because what you don't want is the continued, not just negative press, the continued facts. I mean, if it continues to happen, you'll get the press. It's not like these things are getting made up. So it's not, you don't want the continued negative press, but you don't want this continually out there about the roadblocks that are in the way of success at South.
Right.
The little things, I mean, blaming anyone for the little things is ridiculous. The bigger things, I understand the criticism of Ray Tanner. I'm not sitting here saying he needs to be fired or there should be heat on him or anything, but I mean, just watching it from the outside, it's pretty easy to see the the good stuff and where, there's been some inconsistencies and consistency with the inconsistencies recently. And it's so I get the frustration there. I do understand it.
Oh, no doubt. I was talking to my uncle this weekend about it. I said, look, athletics directors are open to, and they know this. I mean, I've talked to Coach Tanner about this before. They know, they get it. They're open to being criticized for decisions that they make. You're at the end of the day, people look, we get excited about things being built. We get excited about facilities. We get excited about ribbon boards. I know that somebody the other day was, no shocker, we don't have our ribbon boards yet in the stadium. Coach Tanner, same thing, same old, waits to see what everybody else is doing and then decides what we should do it. Actually, no, these were ordered years ago, and then the pandemic
That's
hit.
stupid stuff.
Stuff. My God, dude, you take the freaking scoreboard out of the stadium if they win football games. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care what ribbon board is in there, but some people do. And those are things those are things that are exciting to talk about. But at the end of the day, all right, you're judged on your hires.
Yep.
Like, nobody looks at Mike McGee, who was the former AD to Eric Hyman, and says Mike McGee was a failure as an athletics director. Well, he hired Ray Tanner. He hired Steve Spurrier. He hired Lou Holtz. That's what he's remembered for. And all those guys were successful at South Carolina. Where was he not successful? Facilities. They were awful. They were so far behind. And Eric Hyman comes in and has to, clean the floor with somebody else's dirty soap, basically. And he's pissing everybody off left and right and saying, y'all don't understand. I'm here to piss you off. Like, y'all hired me to get this, and we got to get it there. So and then Coach Tanner has built facilities, but that's not what he's going to be judged on. Nope. He's judged on his hires. So I have no problem with that. Okay. I have no problem with judging him on his hires. If you want to criticize that, that's fine. But when the process gets muddied and really murky, and it makes it look like Coach Tanner and his team maybe have just failed the whole thing.
Right.
That's where I think people need to have some clarity. Things like that, Darren, like understanding that if the car broke down, you got to understand why the car broke down, right? You can't just say, well, it's a Ford, it sucks.
There's something in there that's preventing it from working.
Right.
Stop.
There just need, that's all I'm saying. You can't just say, well, there's Ford on the side of the road, right? That's an awful truck. Well, no, it's not. Broke down. Maybe there's a bad piece. We need to know what happened as to why the truck broke down. So we'll see what happens. And again, I'm not trying to make an excuse for Coach Tanner. You're all free to criticize him all you want to. Look, I think that he should be criticized for a couple of things that he's done. I don't know that I'm the one that's going to go down the road and say anything like, well, he's failed as an athletics director. Well, I mean, if Shane Beamer wins the SEC championship this year, are people going to say that?
Right. And if Lamont Paris goes out and makes the Sweet 16 next year.
Yeah. I mean,
the narrative can change very, very quickly in 9 months.
Where have they failed? We could do this all day, and I'm not going to do it all day, but I'm just going to throw this at you because I know it's going to piss somebody off, and that's what I'm going to do here. I would argue this, okay? And it is not. Let me be crystal clear. And you know this, so back me up if you think that I'm lying. It is not because I have a relationship with this person that I'm about to talk about. Everybody knows that I'm friends with him. But I think maybe one of Coach Tanner's biggest failures is firing Chad Holbrook. And it has nothing to do with the fact that I know Chad Holbrook. Zilch. Okay? I don't know that. I don't know that. But look where they are right now. Was it going that way? Maybe. The next year they went to the Super Regional with Chad Holbrook's players. I know that. I know what was committed for the next 2 years under Chad Holbrook, and it was something. So that's something that can be argued and fussed and discussed. That's okay. I get it. I'm not going to say that hiring Mark Kingston, though, was a failure because his career isn't over yet. They could win every game the rest of the season and win the national championship. Is that likely? No, of course not. But we haven't seen the end of the tenure yet, so you can't judge it. Has it been successful to this point? Parts have, the rest has not. Was Will Muschamp a success? No. Has he been successful at keeping Dawn Staley? He had to battle some people to keep Dawn Staley. Yes, he's been very successful at doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Has Shane Beaver been a success to this point? Yeah, it has been a success.
Absolutely. It has exceeded expectations success.
Right. So these are all things that I don't know how you can debate everything he did as an athletics director until it's all said and done. And this is just a spin-off conversation of what may be likely coming to the Board of Trustees. I think what is likely is there will be some sort of change
and necessary change. I mean, whatever happens, at least they're looking at it. At least they're trying. They're proactively, although I don't know if this is so proactive or reactive at this point, but they're doing something to address what is clearly a problem. So let's just hope that whatever the something is actually does address it.
Yeah, exactly. I really hope that this is a collective effort to get it right and not a bunch of political garbage, not a bunch of
same old.
Yeah. Well, if we get that guy out of the way, we can push this through. It's mentioned in this article that there are major donors out there who may be willing to reconsider some donations. We could speculate on who those are, but I'm not going to do that. Whom have basically said, hey, we're pulling our support from the university because of this issue within the Board of Trustees. That's never good. You got somebody who's going to pull $20 million, $30 million. Oh my God, that's a problem. You gotta get to the root of the problem, and you got to pull that root out of the ground and get rid of it. So we'll see what happens, Darren. But it was that caught my eye because this will have a trickle down effect to a lot of different things.
It will
if change comes, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. Let's see here quickly on the Share Healthcare chat lines before we get to a timeout, and we'll get Keith and Adam. Said the same people constantly calling for Tanner's head unabashedly are the same people that are having an absolute cow that Lamont Paris called Sir Big Spur chicken on Twitter. I thought that was great. I thought it was funny. A gamecock is a chicken. So
that's what I thought.
Yeah. I'm all, these people are weird.
It looks like a chicken. I know that much.
Yeah, exactly. Craig Harpootlian needs to worry about his client, Mr. Myrtle. That debacle is fascinating. It is.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not a Dick Harpootlian fan at all. This guy has clearly had an agenda for a long time for certain things. He's in a lawsuit at the University of South Carolina. I think he's got 2 or 3 lawsuits pending against them. But yet he says he's fighting for him. So I'm not really sure what's going on there. I'm not even going to try to get into it. I don't know. He'd probably sue me if I did. What am I add? Any movement word on the Paris assembling a coaching staff? We'll ask Keith about this. Word that I have is this week we're expecting a name or two to probably be solidified.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say, I think maybe John Whittle has reported that as well. I'll check, but I think he has reported that as well. And Adam says, Coach Paris was on a different Low Country show the other day and said his staff is progressing. I'm assuming he can't mention anything until the board approves it.
Probably.
He better get him in quick or he's never going to have a staff in South Carolina. Jamie said the biggest issue most have with Tanner is that he isn't our baseball coach. Yeah, I miss him. I miss him in the dugout. I think that a lot of people would be surprised to know how Coach Tanner was in the dugout and in the locker room. He's smooth in front of the camera now.
He's not an all shucks guy in the locker room.
Oh no. Ed says, the Muschamp extension, the Kingston hire, or the albatross for Tanner. Hey, it's fair. Look, those things, I don't have a problem with that. I'm not even going to tell you should. That's ridiculous for me to say something like that. That's cool. That's cool. So those are the things that absolutely should be debated if you're going to criticize an AD. But bitching and moaning because the grass isn't cut in front of Williams-Brice Stadium, man, you got to get a job, man. Get off the couch. Go do something. All right, let's hit a final timeout. Keith Allsep's up next here on the JB and Goldwater Show. You won't ever need legal help for a catastrophic injury or health issues from a medical drug or device. But if you or a loved one suffers injury or loss, Motley Rice LLC is a nationally recognized law firm that is right here in Mount Pleasant at 28 Ridgeside Boulevard. Thank you, Motley Rice, for sponsoring the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show. Visit motleyrice.com for more. motleyrice.com.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right, we take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity financed a new loan subject to lender approval.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
It's the best time of the year on the sports calendar, and there's no better place to soak it all in than your spring headquarters. Dog and Duck, with 3 area locations in Bell Hall, Park West, and Clemens Ferry Road. Until May, $5 pints of Wicked Weed brews and Devil's Backbone, again, until May. Patio seating, happy hour daily, family bingo on Monday, the Duck Truck Double Burger every Wednesday, rib night on Friday. It's the place to be for the best wings in town, the best sports everywhere you look. Dog and Duck, 3 area locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clemens Ferry Road.
What's up, everybody? This is South Carolina singer-songwriter Patrick Davis, and I might live in Nashville, Tennessee now, but guess what? I can always keep up with the news back in South Carolina because I've got the JB and Goldwater Show. Thank you, JB and Darren, for being live, loud, and online.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome, Patrick. You're welcome. He just got back to Nashville from Camden, South Carolina, where he had his Where I'm From show on Friday before the Cup. So good for PD. He'll be down here soon, Darren, and I'll be seeing him at the Windjammer, and you're welcome to come see him at the Windjammer. I know you know your way around there well.
Yep.
And I know where to go down and change the beer and where they hide the rest of the liquor because I used to work there just like your wife did. So maybe we can go just drink for free all night underneath the Windjammer.
Okay. Twist my arm. Okay.
No problem. That sounds good.
I'll be there.
Keith Allsep joins us from the great state of Texas here at 129. Final segment on this about to be stormy Tuesday afternoon, at least in our neck of the woods. Hey, Keith.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
You're due for another photo behind you, another national championship to add to the resume.
Yeah, the only thing is I wasn't able to be there for that one. So
bad fan. I can't believe they won without you there.
Well, I had very little to do with it the first time, but I was in the national championship video in 2017.
Were you? Oh, the
Yes,
one
I
that
was.
was created by the school? I don't remember back that far. I can barely remember what I did last week, Keith. I can, though, remember different plays that happened in the 99 football season, the 2000, 2001, 98, 97. Pretty much all of those I can remember.
I feel like you can remember almost every play of every game in your life, even games you didn't see.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the big things I can't remember, like my birthday and stuff like that.
Anniversary.
Well, I've learned to remember that one.
Probably the hard way.
Yeah, we're all good there. All right, Keith. Look, before we dip into the Gamecocks, both men and women, I want to ask you about last night's ball game. Jayhawks, national champs.
It's always great when North Carolina loses. I mean, you look at it, it's a tight game, and all of a sudden North Carolina goes on that run at the end of the first half. It's 40-25, and you're like, holy crap. The Tar Heels look like a team of destiny, and then when you come out to start the second half, man, Kansas just materialized into the same team that started the national semifinal against Villanova, the way they just came out on fire and took over the game. And, North Carolina hit big 3-point shots late to beat UCLA in the Elite Eight and to beat Duke in the Final Four. And last night, those shots did not fall. And so Kansas and South Carolina women, who were the number 1 overall seeds this year and the number 1 overall seeds going into the 2020 NCAA tournament, which got canceled, both wound up winning it. And so what is delayed is not denied.
Yeah, I saw Holly Rowe treat that last
Rock
night.
Chalk Jayhawk.
Rock Chalk.
Suck it, Tar Heels.
Rock Chalk. Speaking of the women, for those that maybe missed this, the MegaCast averaged 4.68 million viewers for South Carolina and UConn on Sunday night. That's the best title game since the 2004 UConn-Tennessee matchup. So it's been a couple of decades since the ratings have been that high, in the Lady Gamecocks, or the Gamecocks, as you always say, Keith, won. And not only did they win, they beat the crap out of them, as I've said now for the third time this week. It really wasn't close. UConn made a couple of runs, but there was not a point in the game that I thought, Keith, you know this team inside and out. They have some moments where you're like, what's going on here? But they never seemed – they had some sketchy moments, but nothing that ever seemed like they were going to give the game up. And I thought specifically it was because of how they were playing on defense and Paige Beckers.
I mean, this was one of the more dominating performances in the entire Final Four in recent times. South Carolina won both games by double digits, 72-59 over Louisville. They held Haley Van Lith. She scored 1 basket in the first half. Bree Beal completely shut her down. Everybody thought, Dawn Staley's going to put Bree Beal on Paige, and she put Destiny Henderson on her, and Becker scored 1 basket the entire game when Henderson was on her. Gino, you could see the look on his face, and certainly after the first quarter, South Carolina started 13-2, 17-4, 22-8 to end the first quarter. Then it was 30-12, and the game was over, even though it wasn't over. But Dawn Staley was smart because she knew UConn would make a couple of runs, and so she rested her starters. UConn, they did make a run. They finished close the first half on a 15-5 run to cut the lead to 35-27.
Yep.
And then South Carolina scored the first 9 points of the third quarter to push it back up to 16. UConn scored only 2 points the first 7 minutes and 20 seconds of the third quarter And then they closed on a run. Beckers hit a jump shot, and then the Gamecocks kind of lost her and Caroline Ducharme. Or no, it was Fudd. And they hit back-to-back threes and, cut it back again. I think they got it down to 6. And then South Carolina in the fourth quarter, I think scored 7 or 8 straight points to start the fourth quarter. I got it here somewhere. So it was, 4 straight by Henderson. That was when Boston had the stuff and the outlet pass, and Henderson raced down for the layup, and Gino called timeout. South Carolina up the lead to 57-41 with just 4:17 to go. I think that's when Fudd and Beckers hit the back-to-back threes, and then South Carolina just hit free throws, and if they would have hit all their free throws, they'd have won by 20.
Oh, yeah.
So it was just like the game in the Bahamas. South Carolina was clearly the best team in the nation. All that pressure, nobody knows what it's like other than Dawn Staley and her team. She said a year ago this week in her postseason media gaggle that the goal was to win a national championship. Anything else was a failure. And so not only did she call it out early, she gave everybody a role, and probably a lot of them didn't like the role that they were given because they were top 5 freshmen and 2 national high school players of the year, even though one got injured. And all that pressure on her, especially when you got to the Final Four, what happens if you slip up?
Mm-hmm.
Then what's the narrative about Dawn Staley? Even though, look, I could go, South Carolina has been the dominant team in the sport outside of one season since that 2017 national championship. If you think about it, the following season, they should have returned all 5 starters. Okay, but Kayla Davis, which was clearly a mistake by her, left early to go to the WNBA. Both she and Alicia Gray had promised they would play both years after they sat out. It's hard to fault Alicia Gray. She was the WNBA Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
But you would have returned Ty Harris, Bianca Cuevas, Alicia Gray, Kayla Davis, Asia Wilson, and Mad Kiki Herbert Harrigan.
Yeah.
That's probably another championship. Then 2020, that was Dawn Staley's most potent team on both ends of the court because there were hardly any games where there were the scoring, funks like this year. Okay, then last year, you have 2 layups with a chance to advance to the final game. What are the odds both of those don't go in?
Mm-hmm.
Sunday night could have been like her 5th national championship.
What do you think the impact is, regardless of how good they were this year and the struggles that they went through? And I'm talking about UConn here. How much larger of an impact does this have on the Gamecocks program that they beat UConn to win the national championship versus, even though I respect the hell out of those other programs that were in there, Stanford or somebody like that?
So I thought, certainly playing Stanford in the championship game would have been redemption from last year's loss. But UConn is the standard bearer of the sport, right? Gino, 11-0 in national championship games, 11 national championships, 14 consecutive Final Fours. That's a dynasty. Okay, there's no doubt about it. And so I thought meeting UConn in the final and having the opportunity to do something that nobody else had ever done, which is beat UConn in a national championship game, would have more of a lasting impact and begin to change the narrative. South Carolina slayed the dragon. Okay, for a quick Game of Thrones reference, Dawn Staley sits on the Iron Throne now. She is the mother of dragons. Okay. When you look at the program, like I said, really since 2017, UConn has no national championship. South Carolina now has 2, and quite frankly, could have many more than that. And when you look at next year's team, I mean, UConn, they play a beautiful brand of basketball. They're more kind of like Diana Ross, like the smooth, classic voice, right? It's ageless. It's incredible. It's recognizable. Okay, but Dawn Staley and the way South Carolina play, it's like Tina Turner. Okay, it's rough and nasty. And a lot of teams just don't like it. Tara Vanderveer bitches all the time about that, when quite frankly in 2017, if some of her players would have done what they did to Asia Wilson outside of that arena, they could have been arrested for assault. But I mean, South Carolina, that's the cornerstone. Dawn Staley, defense. Stubborn. She didn't care what anybody said about the offense. She knew when the time came it would be good enough. But South Carolina, UConn averaged 74.5 points a game, and they got 49 points. South Carolina got 49 rebounds.
Yeah. That was amazing.
It was a complete domination, and the night belonged to Destiny Henderson, the smallest player on the floor. She outscored Paige Beckers, former number 1 player in the country, Azzi Fudd, former number 1 player in the country, Kristen Williams, former number 1 player in the country, and Evina Westbrook, number 2 player in the country. She scored more points than all 4 of them combined.
Right.
Sunday night. And South Carolina's backcourt, you've heard me say it, I've written it. South Carolina would only go as far as their backcourt took them, and they carried them across the finish line, led by Destiny Henderson and then Zia Cook. Dynamic early, scoring 8 of South Carolina's first 17 points on the way to that 30-12, just boat racing from the start.
Yeah, I mean, look, I saw yesterday, because we were kind of debating at what point do you start using the word dynasty, and I agree with Darren. I don't think it's there, but the word that I didn't mention, at least, and I saw mentioned last night somewhere, was powerhouse.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's the powerhouse program in women's basketball right now. Keith, is that a fair assessment? It is the powerhouse. There's a lot of powerhouses. It's the powerhouse program.
I think, like I said, since 2017, South Carolina has been the premier women's college basketball program in the country, outside of the one off year after Asia Wilson, when, there was a bad influence that was brought in from Tennessee and was promptly jettisoned from the program after one season. And then you saw it all turn. Now there's been 2 number 1 recruiting classes. You're going to have 11, barring transfers, you're going to have at least 11 McDonald's All-Americans on the roster next year. And that doesn't count Letitia Amihere, who was a top 10 recruit who was ineligible because she played high school basketball in Canada, but would certainly have been a McDonald's All-American. You're going to return the consensus national player of the year, the Wooden Award, revealed yesterday. That gave Boston a clean sweep. Asia Wilson didn't get out to her senior year.
Right.
Even though, let's face it, she was screwed out of it her junior year. Kelsey Plum in no way deserved those honors over Asia Wilson. And you're going to return it up to 4 starters. You know, I'm hearing there's a chance Victoria Saxton could come back for a 5th year. She has that year available. Henderson will most certainly be a WNBA draft pick. Boy, did that game help her stock.
Ooh, no kidding.
And Lily Grissett and Destiny Littleton and Alyssa Westlake, they will be moving on. And there's going to be at least one more addition. Dawn Staley tweeted out before the parade or the welcome home celebration, a birdie flew in the nest. It is not Janiah Barker, as many had speculated. My source indicates it is will be a transfer portal addition. That was a very highly touted player. We'll just wait and let that play out. But I mean, South Carolina's already, Charlie Cream put it up this morning. ESPN's way too early, top 25. South Carolina's probably going to open next season as the number 1 team in the country. And, this was a historic year for a number of reasons. I mean, no player had ever won the Naismith National Player of the Year and National Defensive Player of the Year in the same year. Boston did that.
Yep.
Dawn Staley was Naismith National Coach of the Year for the 2nd time. She's still the only coach to be Naismith Player of the Year twice and now Coach of the Year twice. She's also the only African-American head coach in either men's or women's Division I basketball to win more than one national championship. They set a school record with 35 wins. They were a perfect 14-0 against ranked opponents. They beat every number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. They beat every team that made it to the Final Four during the course of the season. And they were 8-0 against teams ranked in the top 10.
I do want to get to the men, but I think this is interesting because, Darren, put that graphic back up there. I think you just had it up there with the 14-0. There you go. All right, so 35 wins is unbelievable. But historically speaking, against the greatest seasons in women's college basketball history, I mean, I remember the 2012 Baylor team was 40-0. I think the year after that, or maybe 2 years after that, the UConn team was 40-0. That was in the middle of their 7,000 game winning streak. So there have been, from a record standpoint, Keith, there have been better basketball seasons than what we just saw, 35-2 for the Gamecocks. There's been 38-0s, 39-0s, 40-0s. But where do you think this season stands amongst the greatest we've ever seen? And I know that maybe some out there will write that question off quickly, but nobody's been 14-0 like this with all these high-profile wins. I mean, you're talking about a third of your 40% of your wins were against the best teams in the country. I've never seen that before.
I mean, I don't think UConn certainly ever faced 14 ranked opponents in the same season.
Not in that league.
I think it's one of the greatest seasons of all time because, not only that, guys, South Carolina had 7 wins against they were 7-0 against every sitting coach that had won a national championship.
Yeah.
Oh.
And
how many are there? How many sitting coaches? I mean,
all right, so Gary Blair, he retired at Texas A&M. Let me refer to my notes because I have some-timers. Sometimes I remember, sometimes I forget.
Well, those 7 plus Dawn, that's 8.
Yeah, but she never beat herself.
No, I know. I'm asking how many sitting head coaches have won national championship?
Gino Auriemma twice.
Twice.
Like I said, Gary Blair twice. Brenna Fries at Maryland, Tara Vanderveer at Stanford, and Kim Mulkey at LSU. And so now that Blair's retired, there's only 5 head coaches in women's college basketball that have won a national championship. And
okay.
Not only did she beat Blair twice, she beat Gino twice, and both times were dominations. Yeah. And as the first time since 2013 that the same team or the same coach had beaten Ariema twice in the same season. Notre Dame legendary coach Muffin McGraw, the last one to do that.
I believe also on top of that, and to, tip of the cap to the women's game, I believe it's 5 or 6 consecutive national champs have had women head coaches as well.
Well, yeah, go into 2017.
Back to when Gino and UConn won.
Yes, Gino was last in 2016, right? Yeah, so 17, 18, 19, 21, 22, 5.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. Amazing. Yeah, it's hard to believe that UConn hasn't won a national championship since 2016. It's not hard to believe that the Gamecocks won it again this year. I mean, from day one, we knew they were the best team in the country. If they could play like it, they'd win it, and they did, and they won. And they're probably going to do it again very soon because nobody's going anywhere. Keith, because we have 10 minutes left, and I got to go get my kids from school because we're apparently in a tornado watch now. I want to transition this to the men. Nothing official yet, but expecting some news this week for assistant coaching hires for Lamont Paris. But something interesting happened yesterday in the celebration. Dawn Staley invited Lamont Paris up on stage. She gave him a hug, and she asked the crowd, the students, to rally around him, support the program the way that her program has been supported. And she said 4 words that I thought were well-timed, but interesting. Give him a chance. What do you think she meant by that?
Well, I mean, look, we know how the search played out. We saw all the vitriol on the message boards and social media because Sean Miller, that thing went off the rails. And it's a historic hire. He's the first African-American head coach of a major men's sport. I mean,
do you think that she's?
I mean, take it at face value.
I mean, do you think that?
I think there's a lot of ways that could go, and I don't want to potentially open up any cans of worms. I mean, I do think Tanner Bronson and Eddie Shannon, who played at Florida, was a really good guard, played overseas for 10 years. Those guys are going to be on the staff. He's working to try to get a Shark, a big-time assistant, to lead their current program. I know there's at least 3 guys that he's involved with, but there are other schools involved as well as their current schools that he's working hard. Hopefully they can make that happen. And they've got Hayden Brown coming in on an official visit this weekend. So, he's made contact with Julian Phillips. I'd say Phillips may be more likely at this point than Jackson, but if I were Lamont Paris, and I'm not, because
you're not.
You're
not on the list.
I'm white and I live in Texas.
You're not because you're not.
If Gigi Jackson commits to North Carolina or commits to Duke for 2023, I would take the Lefty Drizel approach, which means it's down to us and whichever school he's announced his commitment for, and I would recruit him relentlessly up until he signed a letter of intent to either attend my school or the school that he commits to. I would not back down. I would call in every card. I would work around the clock. I would find every angle. I would do everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hell, maybe you can get Under Armour to make his dad a paid consultant like Duke did with Nike and Zion Williamson's mom.
Maybe
she was on the Nike payroll.
I'll say this to your question, Jamie. I think a lot of what Keith said, I think it's the big picture. I think it was whatever Dawn says is said with a purpose and a point. Like it doesn't just come out, right? So this was well timed and it was well said. And the message was very direct. And I think it was the overall big picture. I mean, we know that right after the Final Four, there wasn't support in the home opener, right? We know that. And that's been a theme forever at this point. So it's a great time. It's the perfect time when you've got a swarm of people celebrating a basketball championship who obviously like basketball to say, get behind them too. I mean, it only benefits all of us. Get behind them too. And that, to me, that spoke to Dawn's passion for the school, because what she's building will be better if it's built alongside a good program.
I mean, look, I don't want to misdirect or anything, but I have to say this. I feel I'd be remiss. South Carolina fans need to really come to realize what a national treasure Dawn Staley is.
Oh,
her profile nationally has increased so much that, I mean, she essentially carries the torch for African American women coaches. She's carrying the torch for empowering women, for equal pay, for the NCAA tournament to be equal for the women, just like it is for the men, to do away with the inequalities, to try to raise the net worth, not just in sports, but in every profession, for women who do the same job as men who have been earning 65 cents on the dollar compared to what a man gets, to get equal pay. I mean, and on top of that, you know, she was the Olympic head coach. She won, you know, multiple gold medals as an Olympian. She carried the torch for the U.S. Olympic team.
Yep.
I mean, she is the female Michael Jordan, and Michael Jordan's never coached a game, but
I just got that.
She is a national treasure. And, you know, you always have the detractors, and you always have these news outlets that want to divide and bring up stuff that's really irrelevant. And we saw it over the weekend, and we saw a bunch of people spew a bunch of hatred about some shit that wasn't even true. Okay. And they need to just get over it. I don't think anybody's ever said a word about Steve Spurrier or Will Muschamp or Shane Beamer's team not being out for the national anthem. You know why? Because that's not part of the pregame. The teams don't come out until after the national anthem.
Yeah.
In the NFL, until the U.S. military recruiters, okay, that organization, until they wrote a check to the NFL for a boatload of money, no NFL team was ever on the field of the national anthem.
Mm-hmm.
They're all in the locker room. Okay, UConn and Stanford were not out for the national anthem. You know why? Because they did it with 10 minutes left in the pregame. Teams come out, they warm up, they go back in, they go over their matchups, their assignments, they get the last second instructions, and then with about 2 or 3 minutes left in the pregame, they run back out and go through a little layup line and shoot a couple jump shots and then go to the bench.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole article was ridiculous.
I mean, not only was the headline inflammatory, they used quotes from a year ago when South Carolina was protesting because of the movement for social injustice, because of what happened to George Floyd, for what happened to other African Americans.
Right.
That's not the case this year.
Yeah, well, I think Dawn hit the nail on the head. She said, "Hey, we're out here competing for a national championship, and I got players having to worry about stuff like this. It's ridiculous." Luckily, it didn't affect them.
Purposeful. It was purposeful, and it was directed at the black coach with the majority of black team.
Yeah,
it was purposeful.
Well, purposeful or not, it didn't get much traction. According to Mike Uva, somebody at South Carolina let that reporter have it behind closed doors. And Dawn Staley and the Gamecocks are back in Columbia with another national championship trophy. So who gets the last laugh at the end of the day. Much more eyeballs will be on the Lady Gamecocks and their future than any column that journalist writes.
And hey, maybe ESPN will finally ditch the video and the image of Aaliyah Boston in heartbreak after the Stanford loss. Okay, hey. I was so happy she got to address that with Holly Rowe. What a tremendous young lady. What a whole story that is.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's awesome.
I couldn't imagine sending my 12-year-old daughter over 1,000 miles away.
You don't want me to send Riley to you. 12, 22, 2, whatever. She place will burn down. Keith, I'll give you something to chew on. You mentioned that the female MJ, Dawn Staley, I like the comparison. If that's the case, you got to think that behind the scenes somewhere Nike is chomping at the bit going, how can we get into South Carolina headlined by Dawn Staley? Who knows?
Ray Tanner happens, bro.
Yeah.
Well, I think we'll save that debate for another day. I can't go down the road of blaming Ray Tanner for everything else today. I've heard enough. But we love you, and I got to go get my kids, speaking of little girls, because apparently there's a tornado coming.
No, don't start that rumor.
Well, they make the maps with the deep red color and all that. They're like, oh, yeah, everybody shut it down. That's what they say.
We had one of those 2 weeks ago here. Fortunately, my side of town was not affected, but a lot of people lost their homes on the other side of Round Rock, and
scary.
It was really scary.
Fires in Maggie Valley, tornadoes. Tough time. The spring's tough. Keith, have a wonderful week. Keep celebrating. I know you are. What a moment for the Gamecocks.
I am. Hey, look for my story coming up later today on the Big Spur.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I'll have Pete Iacobelli fresh off his trip to Minneapolis from the Associated Press. Thursday, Michael W. Bratton from that SEC podcast. And on Friday, it'll be a big hell yes with Hale McGranahan. And tomorrow night will be, I think, an epic Garnet and Black Town Hall for all our VIP subscribers.
A lot of recruiting going on behind the scenes for Carolina football right now. It's snuck up on everybody. People,
hey, not to mention the fact that Dawn Staley played a major role in Shane Beamer getting a commitment from Corey Rucker. Think of what she can do for Lamont Paris.
Good point. Send her to Gigi Jackson's house.
That's right. Synergy, baby.
See you, Keith.
All right, guys.
There you go. Keith Allsep with the Locked On The Gamecocks podcast. And we are out of here. FreewayFlyersUSA.com. FreewayFlyersUSA.com. If there's bad weather today, they probably won't change them today. But if you need new tires or a tire or a set of tires, whatever it is, just trust me. Do it now. Google it. Type in FreewayFlyersUSA.com. They'll come to your house, your business. They'll change them there. You don't have to sit all day at some tire shop. Kyle, well, Craig, we know you're not in the area, but if you need new tires, it'd probably be quicker for you to drive here from North Augusta and have them changed on the side of the road with Freeway Flyers, sitting in some tire joint.
I'd rather someone change a tire for me than me do it, or find someone to do it,
or sit around for 8 hours. Oh, we'll get you right in.
Yeah.
But when am I getting out?
Never.
That's always the question. JC Sherbert tomorrow. Have a terrific Tuesday. See you then.